Hey guys, hello, hello. What's happening? Anybody there? Hello, hello. All right, we're about to go live with Brandon Boyd from Incubus. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys will enjoy this conversation. I'm going to answer some of your fan questions. The podcast was just released. You guys should go pick it up. Go download it. You don't really have to pick up anything. Just download it. It's on iTunes. It's on Spotify. We actually have Michael and Brandon actually interviewing each other, which is really cool. Something I've never done before. So pretty excited about that. It's up now, and the YouTube link is up. If you like it, please leave a comment. That would be great. So coming up in just a second, Brandon's going to be calling in. If you guys have any questions and you want to write to me now, I'll try and ask him those questions. Just so you know, I have a bunch of questions that you guys wrote in from before. So we're going to get to some of those questions. We actually got some of those questions covered on the podcast. So I'm excited for you guys to hear it. Make sure you leave a comment, leave a great review if you like the podcast. It's all free. How are you guys holding up during this? Are you excited for this interview? It's coming up in just a moment. I can't really hear myself through these headphones, but hopefully, I don't know. Let's see. Can you guys hear me okay? If you can hear me okay. Podcast is called Lip Service, and it's available on iTunes, Spotify, wherever podcasts are available. So check it out. It's an interview with Brandon and Michael Eisinger from Incubus. We're talking about Trustfall Side B, the new album. We actually are talking about your fan questions. So if you guys have some questions, feel free to write to me now, and I'll try and ask Brandon when he calls in just a moment. He's calling in about a minute. So stay tuned, and we'll get into everything. We did, like I said, we did answer a bunch of your questions on the podcast. So if you get a moment, check it out, download it, let me know what you think. And in just a moment, coming up, Brandon's usually very on time. So there we go. I feel like he'll be calling in just a second. So we'll get into everything now. Should I go outside? I don't know what's better. Let's see what's better reception here. Oh, this might be better. Is that better or worse? It's hard to say that's better or worse. But anyway, take our chances and see what's better or worse. How's everybody doing there? All right. Coming up in just a moment, Brandon Boyd, Incubus. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining me. Hold on, I think he has to call in. I'm pretty sure he called in. Let's see. How did you come up with the names for your dogs? Incubus started in an English class in high school. What was the assignment exactly? Okay. Thank you, Heather, for loving the podcast. I appreciate it. There we go. There he is. All right. Let's see if that worked. Can you hear me?
Yes.
How are you, my brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Great to see you. I feel like we see each other more now on like virtual phone apps. Well, thanks for
state of reality we live in.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this. The podcast just came out. It's been getting great reviews, so everybody's very excited about it. I want to talk a few questions that we didn't hit on, some fan questions that you had, and play a little bit of music and talk about the songs. And as you know, we covered a lot in the podcast. It was cool because you guys interviewed each other, which was so cool. I didn't actually even talk much. So that was like my favorite interview, I think, because I really didn't have to say much. But Karma Come Back, one of my favorite songs from the new record, Trustfall Side B, Brandon. There it is, blaring in my speakers.
Nice.
Love to talk about how this song came about, and I know we discussed it before, so you guys can definitely download the podcast. But while you're here, let's talk about how it came about. Probably my favorite song on this record.
We talked about it a little bit, Mike and I, in the original podcast, but it was one of those tracks that has like kind of a few lives before it gets a final treatment. You probably know about that from, being in bands and all that stuff. It's like a song can start with a cool idea, and then you're really stoked about the idea, and then one day it just takes a hard left turn and becomes something completely different and unanticipated. So this song, Karma Come Back, is definitely one of those where we thought it was going to be one thing when at its inception, and it turned into something completely different that we're really
I clearly haven't figured out how to use the volume on my computer here because the song is going in and out. But song's great. It almost has like a police kind of Stuart Copeland drumming vibe. I don't know if you ever thought that. My dog seems to think so too. He definitely agrees with me. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? And so does the Stuart Copeland like groove in that song?
Well, Jose, our drummer, he is very inspired by Stuart Copeland, and as the band, we're very inspired by the Police, have been for a long, long time. So, yeah, sorry, I'm just
definitely. Well, it's my favorite track on the record. Some of the questions that people ask, Brandon, what inspired each of you as you wrote the songs on this EP came from Jasmine Ray. So again, what inspired each of you as you wrote the songs on this EP?
That is a good question. I suppose I can't speak for the other guys.
Well, Michael's here in spirit, so.
Yeah, exactly what was inspiring them, I couldn't tell you, but I know that for me, there was definitely like a spirit of curiosity and adventure, as there always is when we enter into sort of writing phase. I do my best to remain as open and I suppose open to influence as possible. I never want to come across as sort of concretized in my process. So what I try and do is just remain like an open vessel, so as much stuff can come through as possible. So probably any number of things were inspiring me. We live in, even pre-coronavirus, we live in very strange times, politically, culturally. Not just in America, too. The whole world is going through some very strange growing pains. And so
it's never been stranger, by the way. I said the other day, I feel like I'm living in an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah, it's a trip. And I know that there have been generations, before us that have definitely had it much, much worse, by orders of magnitude worse. Our problems are mild by comparison to previous generations. But they are our problems, like these burdens that we're carrying, they're ours. And so I think that something maybe that has been inspiring me to go back to the question is carrying those burdens, carrying the burden of my generation and doing my best to do so gracefully. I hope, hopefully gracefully, Yeah,
and so to pass the time, I know that you're doing a lot of things. You're actually recording some solo material, right? So Goodbye Moon Man, something that you just did, which is great. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your artsy option that you did, because those are, one's for a great cause. The other is obviously something you're doing in isolation to pass the time. But in the meanwhile, who knows, maybe it'll be another like solo record or something.
Right. Yeah. I think I mentioned before on the podcast that I was very much been bonding with one of my guitars. Again, it's an old guitar. It's from the late 50s. It's a Gibson 1950s parlor guitar. So it's an acoustic guitar, but it's like a small body, and it just has a beautiful, beautiful sound. And I've been playing it for like 15 years, but since we've been in lockdown, it's really been speaking to me a lot more clearly and a lot more often than it usually does. So I've been, playing it. I've been writing a bunch. I've been learning other people's songs. And the first one I recorded and put out was, like you said, Goodbye Moon Men, which was on an episode of Rick and Morty called Morty Night Run. It's episode 2, season 2, if people are interested in hearing the original. And it's originally sung by Jermaine Clement. Who,
it's very Bowie.
Very Bowie. In fact, I've read a couple of interviews recently about what inspired the song, and they were like, very much David Bowie. And so I learned the track. It's relatively simple, but it's a really good song too. And then my girlfriend and I made a music video for it, which is fun. But it's up on my Instagram, on my YouTube and stuff. If people want to check it out.
It's awesome. And talk also about the artsy auction that you have going on too for your art.
Oh, right. Yeah. So Artsy is a really cool website that people should just check out anyway for acquiring. Well, they can just look at art too, but you can also go in there and you can get really great limited edition prints from lots of different artists, present company included, as well as occasionally originals from artists. And so the piece that I have up is an original watercolor painting that I donated to the Venice Art Walk, which this year for the first time is all digital. And the pieces available on Artsy, and all the proceeds go to the Venice Family Clinic, which is
So when is the Venice Art Walk? Because I have no idea that it was going to be only digital this year.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be happening like now. I think.
So it's like it's online now. You can go buy stuff. And...
As far as I know, yeah, but it's a great cause. They serve, they provide healthcare services for underserved people all over Los Angeles, and like something like 28,000 people that they serve every year. It's pretty amazing. And so
Awesome.
I've been contributing art to the Art Walk for many, many years for that very cause.
So everyone should go and bid on the picture that you have.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And on top of it, you talked about some new music that you're releasing while in quarantine on the podcast. So I don't want to say too much because I want to leave a few people to go check it out and listen to the interview here, so we don't cover all the grounds. But we can talk. We can hint a little bit if you haven't released it yet, because I know it's coming out very soon, right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Incubus put out a new EP on April 17th, so it's only been out for a couple of weeks. It's called Trust Fall Side B, and we were talking about it earlier. But as well as the, some of the solo stuff I've been recording at home, Mikey and I have been doing.
I'll play Paper Cuts in the background, by the way, while
Nice.
from the EP.
Nice. Mikey and I have been recording a few older Incubus tracks, but like acoustic style in lockdown formation. So it's like just him and I with, my voice and acoustic guitar. So that should be coming out probably really soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We're kind of formulating a plan right now.
And there's a track that you guys just did a remake of, like you reworked one of your songs.
Yeah.
Agoraphobia. So
yeah.
So that's definitely like something that we're excited to hear. This EP for me is one of my favorite things you've done. Really, I love it. So if you guys haven't picked up, make sure you pick it up. I mean, let's talk about Into the Summer, because we were talking about on the podcast too. It's a weird summer. I mean, is there going to be a summer? I feel like, we're all struggling inside, but we want to get out there and we want to be safe. We want to stay safe. Does that song take on a whole new meaning now with everything going on? It's like into what summer, right? I mean,
I know.
I keep saying I'm working out for next year for the summer because I'm not sure there's a point.
You could be ripped by next summer.
Yeah, I'll be doing the Ironman for sure.
Right. Yeah. It's a strange time, man. Like, to go back to what we originally started on, I think this is going to be one of the least social summers that any of us have ever encountered. I just have a feeling. But let's do our best to make the best of it. We just need to get this thing under control. So we need to do whatever we need to do, even if that means some personal sacrifices here and there, like not going surfing.
Well, you might, because we spoke about that yesterday. There might be a secret surfing trip coming out. But it's funny because when I know you so well, you kind of, I wouldn't say that you live in quarantine anyway, but you're a pretty private person besides being on tour. So I don't know like the biggest stretch that you've actually been home on one stretch of time. Is it like a month or two? Because you're always on the road. So, but does this feel like everyday life to you anyway? Because you kind of live in the woods, mountains, I like to say, like,
on a day-to-day basis, it's very similar. I think probably the biggest change has been doing all of the cooking at home and kind of honing my chef skills a little bit. But it's something I've been planning on doing for about 20 years. So now I'm like forced into like the Iron Chef situation, and I'm getting better. Maybe we could share some recipes at some point. But,
I'm a pro at the air fryer, Brandon.
Really?
Yeah. I'm pro. Some people read some questions, by the way. We have a bunch that I wanted to get to, but let me just go to a couple quickly. It says, are there any areas of art you were exploring in quarantine that you've never touched upon before? And that comes from Angelina PS.
That's a really good question. I've never dedicated as much concerted energy towards learning other people's songs on guitar. So I know that sounds quite small, but I've spent, literally my entire musical career over the past 30 years writing songs. And I'm still doing that too, but I for some reason, I haven't dedicated a lot of time and energy to like properly learning how to play other people's songs on the guitar just by myself. Incubus has covered a pretty large couple of handfuls of other people's songs before, but like my responsibility was always to learn how to sing the song and learn the lyric and things like that. So that's been a little bit different. I think probably the biggest creative challenge has been learning how to make sense of a swiftly changing world. I'm like, you know, we're both kind of close in age. We're like middle-aged, and
I like to say young middle-aged.
right. I like to say I'm not young anymore, but I'm not old yet either. I'm like,
Right.
I call it the sweet spot.
Yeah.
That's been very challenging, and I think that it takes a creative person to be able to navigate how to handle the times that we live in, even pre-coronavirus. You know, the coronavirus really is just the latest thing to kind of ratchet up the weirdness that we've been experiencing. So on a good day, I feel like I'm navigating it really well, and I'm digesting and assimilating and not attaching myself too much to the change of conditions. And on a bad day, I get really worried, and I spill my guts out with the guitar and write a song about it. So,
well, the good thing is your music helps a lot of people get through times like this. So, you know, like even live concerts, for me, it's the one thing I think I'm going to miss the most next 6-8 months. I mean, maybe we'll come back a lot sooner. I don't know. But have you guys thought about what the next year might look like? One of the questions was actually, how do you see the music industry and your band evolving over the next couple of years with everything going on, from Nick F13? You and I and Michael spoke about that on the podcast. Again, guys, download the podcast. It's a great interview. These guys are interviewing each other. You don't even have to listen to my voice. I'm not speaking. It's just these guys. And I'm really happy with the way it came out. But so we talked about some of that. But how do you see the music industry and your band evolving with everything going on right now?
I think that's probably one. It's a great question. I think it's probably one of the things that all of us in any kind of field of performance, live performance, or entertainment are really grappling with. The truth is we just don't know. But this is a great time once again to put on those creative goggles and adapt. Use our highest powers of creativity and adaptability to just move with the landscape. So in the very, very immediate, the closest thing that I could think would be live stream performances, which we talked a little bit about in your podcast. So I'm excited to do that because that means I get to get in the room with the guys in the band and we can just make noise. And I've always called playing with the band, it's a sort of proverbial screaming into the pillow. I don't know if you've ever done that exercise. When you do a pillow and scream at the top of your lungs. It does something kind of viscerally to you in a very immediate way. It definitely changes the chemicals in the air. And that's the thing that I just want to get to first. And I feel like once we get those gears moving as a band and we're able to be in the same room together, we're going to start concocting some fun, creative ways to perform live for people. But as far as like getting together in big giant rooms all smashed together, I can't really picture us doing like social distancing concerts. It would just be awkward, but maybe.
Well, we talked about the Post Malone concert. Did you see the way that they were able to sort of social distance? I don't know if it was his living room or whatever it may be, but I mean, that could be the future of what it looks like the next few months. Have you guys spoken about those kind of performances? I mean, I don't know if you're going to do like a Zoom performance, but there has to be a way to get together and still keep space and still bring something to the fans. So have you thought about ways that you can do that kind of thing?
We have been. We've been talking about it. I think that for us, because I mean, we all live relatively close together, and our studio is only about 20 minutes away. What we hopefully will be able to do is we'd break quarantine merely for each other. We would become each other's like
quarantine family.
Quarantine family. That's a thing now. And I really think it would be good for us as people, but also as a band. But I also think it would be fun for our listeners around the world to even virtually be with us. It's so, I mean, what a blessing that we have the technologies that we have right now to be able to connect with each other in the event that we can't physically connect. I've done 4 drive-by birthday parties in the past couple of weeks.
Have you really?
I know a lot of choruses, and they're fun. And you get out of the car and you stay like 10, 15 feet away from these people that you desperately want to squeeze. So it's a little tragic too, but better than nothing.
And then what do? You stand in the street and you just kind of scream at each other from 8 feet away or something?
There's there's a thing we've been doing where, because one of them was for my my older sister, and it was her birthday, and my whole family got together in the street, and we stayed away from each other. But this is the new thing we're doing. When you see someone from far away and you want to hug them so bad, you just make this shape.
That's great. And that's great. Another great question. What was the main inspiration for Incubus's new EP? Again, if you guys don't have it, make sure you pick it up. It's one of my favorite pieces of work that these guys have done.
What was the main inspiration? That was the question?
Yeah, for Trust Fall Side B. Because obviously for people that don't know, there was a Trust Fall Side A about 5 years ago. So is this sort of like, did you start writing any of these songs at the same time? Is this a whole new body of work? Was the inspiration recent, or did the inspiration come to you guys 5 years ago when you wrote Trust Fall Side A?
Well, when we wrote Trust Fall Side A, that was the original kind of like burst of inspiration, and a couple of ideas that became completed songs on Trust Fall Side B started back then. Then I think that some of the stronger tracks on this record, well, I can't say stronger tracks. I'll just say that there are a couple that we wrote like while we were on tour this past fall around the Make Yourself reunion tour, and it was fun to have the environment we were writing in be different every day, because we were just writing on stage during sound check, and it was fun to have like stage quality sound while we were writing. It's not always like that.
That's amazing.
Our rehearsal space sounds good, but it's quite.
It's a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get used to it. But so we wrote this. It's the second to last song on the record. It's called "On Without Me." We wrote that like on stage during sound check over the course of a couple of months, and so I think it shows, because it's got like a.
I'm going to try and play it without blowing you out of the water here with my speakers. Here we go. Here it is, guys. If you guys haven't heard it, it should be playing any second now. I don't know if I can figure out how to work my stereo. It'd be great. Here we go. And this is, I think, one of your favorite songs from the record too, right?
Yeah, On Without Me, definitely.
Great track. Such a great song. I believe next year is 30 years you guys have been together, right?
That's right.
Which is crazy. So what were you planning on before this all happened? Did you have like big plans to recreate some of your records, start to finish? Is there stuff that I don't know about that you could let out of the bag, like an exclusive here that maybe we should know?
I wish I did. We were definitely planning on being on tour, and I hope we're still going to be on tour in 2021. There had been a lot of chatter and enthusiasm for a Morning View 20th anniversary tour where we play Morning View from front to back, because in 2021 Morning View will be 20 years old. And interestingly, that record came out, right around, I think it came out in September of 2001, which the world changed pretty dramatically in September of 2001 as well. So it's we hope that I think that would be a lot of fun to go and do something like that, but we'll see. We're still kind of in that we'll see pattern.
Yeah. What do you miss the most right now? I mean, besides people, obviously, because you are private, but you do love, your close friends. So what do you miss the most?
I definitely miss like physical contact with my closest friends and family. Just being able to like hug your dad, give your mom a hug, and I miss playing with other people's dogs.
Yeah,
that's a thing. Like dogs run by, and I jump into a dog pile. I love it, and you just do that right now. It's the weirdest thing.
You're constantly fostering dogs too, right? I always see that.
Yeah,
you got a new dog that you're fostering.
You meet a dog on the street, and they come up to you, and they can sense like if you're dog savvy, and they, they're like, touch me, touch my butt, and you're like, I'm sorry, you can't.
The best is when we have lunch and you bring your dog in the baby carriage, and I'm like, it's amazing. So let me take,
I was just gonna say, Bruce, the dog you're talking about.
Yeah, Bruce.
He's gonna be 15 years old next month.
He's amazing, amazing. Well, let's take two more questions, Brandon, and then we'll everybody can tune into the podcast to hear the rest. So, how'd you come up with the names for your dogs? From Heather Pre, one of the questions.
This is where my kind of inner random weirdo kind of kicks in. When I met Bruce, his name was Rico Suave, and he was a puppy, and it seemed like just a desperately inappropriate name for a dog for so many reasons. And so when I agreed to like adopt him and take him home, I looked at him and I looked him deep in the eyes, and I had a name kind of picked out for him already based on one of my favorite books. And I was going to name him Grenouille, which is the murderer from the book Perfume. And because Bruce is French and he like smells things, and so I was like, his name's gonna be Grenouille. He looked at me, and I swear he sent like a very clear psychic message to me that said, "Don't fucking call me that. My name's Bruce." So in a way, he kind of named himself.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then Billy was similar. We had a couple of other names that we thought about, but then we just look at her. She just looks like Billy. Yeah.
It's great. Well, you're doing good work there by fostering all those dogs. I think the last question we'll get to from Tommy, 1989. Tell us the process of how you came up with an Executor Out Love home performance video. And do you think there'll be more of those?
I very much hope there'll be more, especially if the circumstances continue to unfold the way that they have been, and we aren't able to get into a room together. But what we did was we just we played a game of telephone, essentially. We just played the parts for each other, and then each of us did our thing to the best of our ability. And then a friend of ours, Tom, mixed it, and he made it sound pretty good.
Yeah.
Considering he'd done it not in a studio by any stretch of the term.
Do you see you guys doing more of those kind of things? You feel like that could happen again?
Yeah, for sure. It was fun to do. And I know everybody in the band enjoyed it as well. It's just a matter of if we have to keep staying home. Oh my God. What's your dog name?
Milo.
Milo.
Had to bring him into the picture.
Look at him. Oh
yeah.
My gosh, what a cutie.
He's a sleepy little boy. So you see, there could be more of that coming into the future for you guys.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, dude, this is great. If you guys have not picked up Trust Fall Side B, the EP, it's incredible. Pick it up. The YouTube chat that we did is online now. The podcast is online. It's a great conversation of Brandon and Michael. We cover pretty much everything, the writing process, anything you guys would want to know. It's great. I always love to see you. I feel like I'm seeing you more than I've seen you in the last 6-8 months anyway now. So at least it's something that connects us. It's great.
Let's get together when we can.
Yes, we will. Milo and Bruce will get together and we'll have a play date. Definitely. Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks, Brandon. You're the best. Also go and definitely bid on the art, right? Mm-hmm. Anything else we should talk about in the music hero stuff?
I don't think so. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, No Kid Hungry. Sorry, No Kid Hungry. It would be a charity that you. Yeah. So make sure you guys all check that out, and we'll see each other soon.
Yeah, brother.
All right, my brother. See you soon.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Man.
Bye. You too.